thank you for watching. This is a combination book review and the basics of Sikhism. Some of you might be saying now, this guy is not a Sikh. He's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Can I trust him? You can trust me. I'm not going to lie for several reasons. One is God orders me not to. And I want to live in peace with everyone. God doesn't want me to lie about what other people's religions believe. There are some people who, even though they have the same Bible I have, they apparently don't mind lying about what somebody else believes. So I went to the Gurdwara last year so I could understand Sikhism better and got these books. I read them right away. And I just finished reading them this morning for a second time so I can share with you what I have come to understand about Sikhism. Two things I did not notice the first time I read these books that really stood out in my mind this time when I read them. One of them denounced the idea of a Sikh going to other places of worship. I don't see what's so bad about that. In my religion, we aren't taught, that God's going to punish us if our neighbor who's of a different religion invites us to go worship God with them. So I don't see how that could be such a problem. The other thing I don't remember noticing the first time, in one of these books, it says that Sikhs believe in one God. That wasn't the surprise. But some of the Hindu gods, they give credit for being actual beings in the past. Actual beings that really exist, but it says there's God above them. I would have thought they would, just do the whole thing out. One of these books said that the Sikh gurus were trying to purify what was in the Hindu scriptures, or denounced the impurities that people added to the Hindu scriptures. And, alright, so, the first of these books I'm going to hold up now is Basic Principles of Sikhism, Sikh Missionary College, and some important things to know about Sikhism. It began in Punjab. Punjab is a region that's divided by a national border because sometimes our current national borders have been drawn not taking into account cultures, tribes, and regions that already existed as a cohesive area, or where there was already a common culture or language in a region. And so Sikhism has 10 gurus. That word has the same meaning in and outside of Sikhism, wise teacher, although a Sikh who says guru might mean their guru. Kind of like how if I say prophet, I mean the same thing as somebody who believes the Bible means when they say prophet, but I could mean the current prophet too. Or there's some difference in some prophets, who my religion looks at as a prophet and other Christians look at as a prophet. The 10 gurus start off with Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Sri Guru Angad Dev Ji, and third one Sri Guru Amar Das Ji, Sri Guru Ram Das Ji, Sri Guru Arjun Dev Ji, Sri Guru Har Gobind Ji, Sri Guru Har Rai Ji, Sri Guru Har Krishan Ji, Sri Guru Teg Bahadur Ji, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. That last one, Sri Guru Gobind Singh, in 1708, the year 1708 AD, wrapped it all up, you could say. He proclaimed he was the last of the gurus. And now every Sikh doesn't need to find a new guru, they just need to look at what these 10 people have done. That's why guru is in the name of their scriptures. The Sikh scriptures are named Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Alright. And it lists names of 5 beloved ones here. They are Bhai Daya Singh, Bhai Dhram Singh, G at the end of all of them. Benai, there's a Bhai Hamid Singh, Bhai Mokim Singh Ji, and Bhai Sahib Singh Ji. Alright. 5 is an important number in Sikhism because these 5 people did something really important at the beginning. I think they might be the 5 who are the one story I didn't see in these books, but I've seen somewhere else. He wanted to make sure, one of the Sikh gurus wanted to make sure he had loyal followers who were going to try to follow him and God, the way his guru understood. And he invited volunteers and got 5 volunteers, and one at a time he took them into a tent and chopped off a goat's head and came out with a bloody sword to get the next one. So it looked like to the people on the outside he was literally chopping off their heads. Then, and they were still going in there, so they had a lot of trust in him if they thought that he was going to chop off their head. And then after he had chopped off 5 goat heads, opened the tent up, and people could see that he was just testing these people, and he was only chopping off goat heads. But because of these 5 people, one principle of Sikhism now is 5 people who have done Amrit Dari, more on that in a second, can make important decisions for the local Sikh area or Sikh Gurdwaras. Of course, subservient to the scriptures, to Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Amrit Dari, that is the Punjab word for Amrit, a nectar, Dari, drink. It's a religious ceremony. Part of the ceremony is drinking nectar. When a Sikh does that, that's kind of the equivalent of a Christian baptism, or maybe even more so for a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, equivalent to being endowed. But they're making covenants with God when they do the Amrit Dari. They're promising to be a Sikh, and they're promising to wear you could call it a Sikh uniform. The Sikh uniform. There's 5 things that Sikh are supposed to always wear, and they really are supposed to wear it after they do Amrit Dari. One of the books denounced somebody who would dress up like a Sikh but not make the covenants, not do Amrit Dari, as that's not a good thing. And wow, I love that principle. It's true. You're not showing respect for somebody's religion if you dress up like you're one of the devoted people of the religion, but you aren't actually following it. So, yeah, anyone who... that made me think about how there are some people in this world who are trying to get other people to wear their head coverings for their religion, or people who aren't even of that religion trying to get other people to wear their head coverings from their religion. But somebody from that religion should be offended if you're not really a believer, but you're dressing up like it. So this uniform, you could call it, the way Sikhs are supposed to dress. There is kesha. There's 5 words that start with a K sound. One is keshas, a kesha. That means their hair uncut. Sikhs believe you do not cut your hair. And kara is a bracelet. It has to be steel, not gold, not silver. That reminds them that they're a disciple or a slave of the guru. Turban is a dagger. They're supposed to, supposed to put a comb in their hair. Use the comb to comb their hair and then leave it in there, a wooden comb. It's called a kanga. Kachera are undershorts, and they wear the turban too. And alright, those are the other basics of Sikhism. Okay, I mentioned a second ago, Sikhs are monotheists. They don't pray to a different god when they want rain, and a different god when they want to win a war, and a different god for their children to be healthy. And their understanding of God sounds like he is doesn't have a body, just a spirit or a power. Alrighty. And let's see, it denounces, one of the things these books taught is they should not take part in non-Sikh religious ceremonies. That's understandable, festivals and things like that. It denounced going to the other religious buildings too, but that confused me because I don't think God's going to be mad at me for the time I went to their Gurdwara, even though I don't believe Sikhism is the true religion, and I don't believe God wants everyone to be Sikh. I don't believe God's going to punish me for going to the Gurdwara and seeing what it was like. Okay, and but the turban, let's talk for a second about that. That's very important to the Sikh religion. You could call it a uniform. It's an identifier. The man who wrote this book recounted when he graduated from a university. He had to make a choice. The graduation hat did not fit on top of the turban, or he didn't want to cover the turban. He had to make a choice between the two. He chose the turban. And when somebody asked him about it, you've worked hard for 2 years to graduate from this program, why not wear the hat to celebrate it? His answer to that was, the turban, people worked hard on that for 200 years and earned that turban, and they worked for 200 years to give him that turban, and so he would rather wear something that took 200 years of work instead of 2 years of work. These 200 years he was talking about is 1499. I guess that's when Guru Nanak Dev Ji started proclaiming himself to be a guru, or started receiving inspiration from God. And in 1699, the last guru, Gobind Singh Nanak, he was did something in 1699 that kind of puts a ending, kind of like a metaphorical or what's analogous to a graduation, something, and that's when he sort of like gave everyone the turban. Okay, and yeah, one of his experiences where he tried to explain about the turban was when he went to a Christian Women's Association in Kesnel, Canada, somewhere north in Canada, like 500 miles or 500 kilometers north of Vancouver, way up there. And this story really stood out in my mind and disturbed me, partly because the Christians he talked to had a bad attitude that nobody should have, and partly because he mischaracterized the Bible. So the Christian said something like, this is how he's quoting it, why do you wear a religious clothing, or why do you wear a turban? Clothing has nothing to do with religion, or something like that. And that was a rude attitude by the Christian staff. That disturbed me. Nobody should have that attitude. That's a stupid thing to say, that clothing has nothing to do with religion. There's no such thing as religious clothing, or all religious clothing is crazy. No, people have religious clothing. If the religion teaches it, it's religious clothing. Maybe there is some crazy religious clothing in the world, but just the act of clothing being religious doesn't mean it's crazy or stupid or bad. But his explanation was to claim that there are turbans in the Bible. No, the word turban is never in a proper, well-translated edition of the Bible. he quotes a specific set of verses, which is Ezekiel chapter 44, verses 18 and 19. And in context, those verses are part of a series of several chapters, starting in chapter 40, where Ezekiel sees a vision of a temple that God is going to be ordered to be built in the last days. So the bonnet, it's a bonnet, not a turban. An accurate translation is bonnet. And what's my evidence of that? King James translation says bonnet. And the King James translators were 400 years closer to the time when the Bible was first written, and I trust they got the vast majority of things right. But the other thing he got wrong, not that he got more than one thing wrong about it, but it's not a turban, that's one thing. The other thing is, those chapters in Ezekiel are not telling us how to live our everyday life. They are not commands from God. You do this, dress like this when you go out in your everyday life. Those are temple clothes to be worn in a temple for temple ceremonies, not our everyday life. Alrighty, now that I got that covered, told that one story that was in there. Oh yeah, where did I put this book? I'm jumping around from one book to the other, but I'm staying on the subject of Sikhism. They give a brief summary in this book of what Sikhism is. It says, each and every Sikh child must know about the basic tenets of Sikhism. When someone puts a question, why do you like Sikhism? The answer would be because practicing Sikhism is so simple. No complexities of rituals and ceremonies, fasts and austerities, renunciation and reclusions for heavens and hell. I have no conch shells to blow, no bells to ring, no deities to appease, no pilgrimages to undertake. I preserve my long hair and beard as nature has given them to me, and keep a comb to cleanse them every day. To look decent and civilized, I keep my loins covered with a kachera. I wear a sword to meet unforeseen enemies, and an iron bracelet, an emblem to remind me of the bondage. To my guru, I eat when hungry, wear when naked, and enjoy as I will, provided these do not pollute my mind, nor harm my body. The only criterion with me is to preserve a clear conscience, and have a sound body. This simplicity of faith and freedom of joy are the greatest inducements for me to be a Sikh. Alright, good. Now, that's what this thing says. Here are my thoughts. My thoughts and analysis, yeah. So, some of these things I read here about Sikhism, I can see how they are a reasonable reaction to excesses by some Hindus and some Muslims. But, let's see. So, I did think it was funny, no rituals and ceremonies. Every religion has ceremonies. Sikhism has ceremonies. So there are ceremonies. There are things that they do. So that line doesn't make sense. But fast and austerities. Okay, Sikh do not believe that God wants them to do any religious fasts or go without for religious reasons or to appease God. Heavens and hells, they are reincarnationists. They believe you just are reborn as another person or an animal after. I'm pretty sure it said it was a little vague, but it seemed to me that they believe you could be an animal too from what it says here. And this long hair is very important. They point out in one of these books, or more than one of the books, that Sikh have been martyred over the subject of hair. Like somebody told a Sikh, cut your hair or I will kill you, and they were killed for refusing to cut their hair. That's sad. Nobody should be executed for refusing to, if their religion teaches to not cut the hair. Oh yeah, one of the times when he explained about why to wear the different Sikh clothing, including the turban, he got something very wrong, and he quoted the creation myth of atheism, which could also be called secular humanism. He said what separates humans from animals is wearing clothes, and when people started to wear clothes, he's hinting, or at least echoing, when he was saying that the atheist belief about a common ancestor for all life, which there's no proof of, and apes and humans having a common ape-human ancestor, and the slow evolution of, for a long time, of these apes becoming people. But the truth is, the first man and woman wore clothes, walked and talked, and so you're not becoming what your ancestors were if you don't wear clothes. You are acting animalistic or uncivilized if you want to run around naked, but you're not being like your ape ancestors. You don't have ape ancestors. Okay, so let's see. So I read the title of this book for you. And now this book is named The Supreme Scripture Adi Sri Guru Granth Sahib and the Superb Faith Khalsa Panth by Swami Ram Tiraf Ji Nandi Sannyasi. English translation by Professor Milwinderjeet Singh. Published by Dharam Prachar Committee in Sri Amritsar. Amritsar is a city in India where the Golden Temple is. I didn't put quotes up because it's the wrong name for it, but English-speaking people who don't learn the Punjab name for it, that's the name we call it. It's got gold on it. It's not used as a disrespectful term usually, to say Golden Temple. There is a real name for it. That's Harbinder, and I don't have that one memorized, I'm sorry. So, this book is slightly different than the other two because this one seems more to written to the goal of convincing people to not be Hindus and making sure people know the difference between Hinduism and Sikhism. One thing that surprised me when I was reading these things again was they gave credit to the Hindu religion as having like good beginnings, or the Hindu scriptures as being true before being corrupted. I would have guessed that Sikhism, being monotheistic, would not give credit to a religion that has many different gods that are responsible for many different things. So, that's that. This thing does do a lot of quoting from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. I don't have that book yet, Sri Guru Granth Sahib. I'm not sure how big it is, but when I looked it up on Barnes & Noble to look into getting it for my Nook, it seems there's like 6 or 7 English translations of segments of it. So it's a pretty thick book, or they just translated it 200 pages at a time for those editions I was looking at. Alright. This book is Teaching Sikh Heritage to the Youth by Gurdwara Singh. This one didn't need to have a translator because this guy speaks English. He has spent time, he's got some stories about things that happened in the 80s when he was well into his adulthood. I'm not sure if he's still alive. If he's alive, he's old and gray. But he lived in America and or Canada, and so he's got experiences that he tells about in here. Sometimes he tells you when and why he is thinking about a subject, or the background about an explanation he gave. Not just, here's why we wear the turban. Here's why we do this. But I was at this one conference. I went to speak to this one group. I was at this camp. I saw this person at a camp. I was asked this question at a camp. he had experiences, many experiences where he went to different camps, and some of these questions that he was asked and things he explained were at the camps. He explains questions like, why do they wear the turban? Can you be a Sikh and cut your hair? And alright, yes. One of the things that this book tells us is basically when you have like so much violated the Sikh religion that you shouldn't call yourself a Sikh anymore, and you need to get rebaptized or redo your Amrit Dari. And here they are. The four, they call these Kurahits. You are fallen one, Patit, if you do one of the four things. Trimming the Keshas. Keshas is hair. Alright, congratulations to those of you who paid attention and said hair when I paused there to give you a chance to see if you remembered. Use of tobacco and intoxicants. They're against anything that plays with your mind. Alcohol, illegal drugs, opioids, eating meat prepared as per Muslim rites. I was confused about whether Sikh were vegetarians or they just wouldn't eat Muslim meat when I read that line. To the best of my knowledge, they are vegetarians. And so if a Sikh eats meat that's not prepared this way, not prepared in the Muslim way, in other words, slaughtering it while saying the same words they say when they are bowing down to the Kaaba. So if they eat meat not in that way, they haven't like done something so bad they need to get reinitiated, Amrit Dari. Adultery. Yep, they have the same rule about sex, at least for married people. I'm not sure how much they teach that you should be a virgin when you get married, but I think they did. They're also against adultery. Alright, good. So, got that covered. The Sikh scriptures they may be translated in English, but if you go to the Gurdwara, which I did once, that you will hear Punjabi only. I mean, they spoke to me in English, the ones that spoke English, when I was talking to them to try to understand things, but when you're in the room where they're doing the praying and the reading and singing of the scriptures, singing with music, they were doing it in Punjab. They had television screens up there with the Punjab word of what they're saying and a transliteration of the Punjab. So Roman, I'm American, I did this in America, so they had the English Roman letters that make the sounds that the Punjab words make, and then translation into English on the bottom. So I was able to understand what they were saying because of that. I'd recommend everyone, go to a Gurdwara one time in your life, see what it's like. It's an interesting experience. Sikh are wonderful, nice people. And, let's see, I think so highly of Sikh when my son and I put our heads together to make up superheroes of our own creation. I made one of them, with my son's permission, a Sikh. Her name is Jade Kaur Parter. Notice the Kaur in the middle. One basic of Sikhism is they believe they should literally have Singh or Kaur in their name, depending on whether male or female. Singh means lion. Kaur means princess. I used to think that it had to be the last name, but as far as I understand, it's alright if it's the middle name too. So my son picked the first name and last name for our superhero's secret identity, and I picked the middle name and the religion. And let's see, yeah. So if you go to Gurdwara, you'll hear Punjab. If you look at these books, there's some words they just transliterate. They don't translate them. And here are some of those words and my understanding of what those words mean. Sajdaris, that's a supporter. You might think of somebody like that as a Sikh if they go to the Gurdwara, and they have not done the Amritdhari yet. The Panth is like the group of the really dedicated followers. So those who have done Amritdhari, for those of you who want a analogy to Christianity or other things, the Panth, it's kind of like being baptized, or for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have what we call the Temple Endowment Ceremony. A even better analogy would be the Sajdaris, or kind of like the members, and the Panth is those who is like the collective group of those who have been endowed. Okay, Gurdwara. Gurdwara, you're going to hear this word a lot. If you watch YouTube videos of Sikhs, if you read these books, as far as I can tell, the best equivalent is the English word by a Christian of gospel. When I say the gospel of Jesus Christ, I'm talking about the whole thing. All the dogma, all the official teachings of the church, everything Jesus said, everything I need to do, everything I'm going to get out of it, everything God does for me, it's all Gurdwara. Probably a telemarketer. Okay, and Sakhis. Translated or written Sakhis. These were stories. These are stories about the founders of Sikhism. Interesting. Oh, let's finish talking about this. It looks like some of these might be stories about martyrs. Maybe the definition of Saki, I should have said stories about martyrs, but maybe that word just means stories. It's one of those two. Oh, my eye. Okay. So, my eye in pain has broke my concentration. I thought of something to say. So, stories of the founders, Sikhis. Oh, Sakhis. According to one of these books, Sikh in Punjab just means follower. And at the beginning, when the first Guru Nanak Dev was still alive, they were called Nanak Sikh, or followers of Nanak Dev, or Nanak Dev Sikh. The earliest those who joined the religion followed Nanak Dev were a combination of Hindu and Muslim. Sikhism definitely calls for world peace. It calls for us to, it denounces the caste system that India has had, still has to some degree. I've heard some people accuse the caste system of being created by Hinduism. I've heard some people say Hinduism didn't create it, it was just there, or it came about by other means other than the religion of Hinduism teaching it. But the Sikhism definitely denounces the caste system. It just calls for everyone to be treated as equals. If you go to the Gurdwara for that meal after, they don't line you up based on you're the high caste over here, you're the low caste over here. No, it's no caste, everyone together. These books denounced religious violence. One of the essays or paragraphs made it sound like it was accusing the religious difference of causing the violence, as if hinting that the violence is just naturally there in most or all religions. Of course, people can be of different religions and peacefully coexist. There's one religion that has a lot of problems with that. So, peaceful coexistence is called for by this. It points out that God created us all. There's a common belief. There's one God created us all. We don't have competing factions or gods in the skies like the ancient Greek pantheon of gods. It called God Father. Use the word Father, one time Father hyphen Mother. In these books, when it was talking about him more than once, sometimes it said God, sometimes it said Father. They don't believe in God having a body that looks like us, like my religion does. God is like spirit to them, a real true power, but doesn't have a shape. And so when they say Father about God, they don't mean it as literally as I mean it when I say Father about God. So I think I gave you a good summary here about Sikhism. I recommend everyone to make a hobby out of understanding different religions and cultures, like I do. Maybe you can go to a Gurdwara and find these books, or find them somewhere to buy, and learn more about Sikhism. Thank you for watching. You have a good day.